In 1919, he hit 29 home runs and was sold to the New York Yankees.
A three-run home run for Buffington. The Yankees now lead it by a score of 3-2.
Bill Lee is now going over to a couple of the Yankees, and there they go again.
Hits it to deep left. That might send the Yankees to the World Series.
Varitek and A-Rod going at it. Roberts is going. Posada's throw. Roberts safe.
And what can I say? Just tip my hat and call the Yankees my daddies.
Welcome to Fanbase, a deep dive into the greatest rivalry in sports. I'm Brian Shackman, along with my co-host, John Senecal. We are on episode 187. Woof. Actually, we have...
Time flies when you're having fun.
Yeah. We've had all these 5-year anniversaries of the pandemic recently, and obviously this was born out of the pandemic, and we're still doing it. So it's great, and we love it. We have a lot to talk about today. We're going to go Raffy Devers, Yankee pitching, Mookie Betts, Tampa Stadium, and then we'll end it with a nice note about Yankee fans love this guy, Joey Gallo, and his career change, or attempted career change. Let's start with Devers. You know, shocker, he comes out and says he's okay. DHing, he'll do whatever is needed. A month too late, and turns out he didn't swing it all in the off season. He's got, I guess, 2 bad shoulders, and he's not ready for the season anyway. And I have one fundamental take. I mean, I think the Red Sox actually handled it well. Let him grumble, let him be his own worst enemy, and he's going to have to see the tea leaves and come into the fold. The issue here is that this team is not Raffy Devers' team. Like, whether it's Bregman's team or Bregman and Story's team, I can't tell you. And if it were, or if it ever will be Raffy Devers' team, the team will be a losing team. He is not a leader. We know, listen, he's a good player. He seems like a good guy. It's not a personal indictment, but if he is your leader, your team is not going to win. And I think that this gives the team, him stepping aside, I don't care how grumpy he is. If he doesn't produce, he's only embarrassing himself. So I think that the team is kind of protected here. And my take is that he'll pout, he'll realize there's nothing to be done, and then he'll get his ass into shape.
Yeah, I think the thing about Devers is what I saw is interesting is his first press conference when he was sitting and he said he's a third baseman. He had his hoodie on. He looked all, kind of standoffish. He was very short with his answers. And he just did not look happy, right? He did not look like a happy camper. And then fast forward to now, and his press conference is much different. He had a smile on his face. His interpreter had a smile on their face, so his conversation with Cora and Craig Breslow, he said it convinced him to take a more team-friendly approach, is what he said. So, listen, regardless if he talked to Breslow, if he talked to David Ortiz or whatever, he's doing the right thing, right? He's doing the right thing for himself. He's doing the right thing for his team. But, you said something interesting, Brian. You said he's not a team leader. And, it's interesting you say that because, you look at the Yankees, it's obviously Aaron Judge, right? He's the captain. But if you look at the Red Sox, I just don't see anybody since maybe David Ortiz left. Since he's left, that could step up and take this position. And maybe it's going to be one of the newer guys, Marcelo Mayer coming up, or a Roman Anthony, but these guys aren't major league on the roster yet. So if I look at the Red Sox now, I don't see a team leader, and I don't see it as Alex Bregman either, as a guy who's just coming in. So in my opinion, Cora is your team leader, really. He should be the team leader, but he is,
Yeah, I mean, and part of it is the lack of like a true alpha leader who's also a team player, but it also shows that.
Well, it also helps. It doesn't hurt. It doesn't help with the language barrier, right? If you're going to have your team leader be someone who doesn't speak good fluent English, it's not like you're going to have Shohei Ohtani be your team leader. You're going to have more of a Mookie Betts or a Freddie Freeman. That's just the way it is. That's just the way it works.
Ortiz and Pedro could have hid behind that too. I mean, I think there's a lot. I think you mentioned it maybe last podcast, and I think it was almost like Ortiz made the conscious decision to work on his English so he could fulfill that role. And listen, it's very simple. Like, Raffy Devers can hit the baseball. His teammates seem to like him. He was popular for a while. I think he's hurt his leg. I mean, I don't know. If I were a young, excited fan, I think he's hurt his legacy I don't know if he can repair it or he will repair. But I mean, the bottom line is that people look at him different, and I think someone let him know that he's going to lose fans if he doesn't get his act together. And we, listen, I it doesn't work with my kids, but I've told them, I'm sure you told your kids that, adversity reveals character, right? I mean, that's the line. And we saw a little bit of his character, and he's just, and I'm not saying he's a bad guy. I'm just saying he's not a selfless team leader. And that's what we got. So,
the other thing is, right now he's built himself into a one-dimensional player, right? You can say Alex Bregman, he could play 1 year with the Red Sox, opt out and leave, and Devers' spot could open back up, but he won't be doing himself any favors if he's not a team player, and he's not a tradable player right now either. So the Red Sox are stuck with him. So at least he is taking the right approach in the media. Regardless, maybe he's not happy still, but he's taking the right approach in the public opinion. So good step for Raffy Devers. We don't even know if he's going to be on the opening day roster, Brian. He's only played one game so far, and he went over 3 against his former teammate Sale. So who knows? He might not even be ready for opening day.
He might not be ready for opening day, and they might even start him even if he's not. I mean, I think that by the time I go on that Friday, I think he'll be there for the home opener, but he might not be in the lineup for the season opener. I think it's totally a fair thing to look at. He's John Senecal. I'm Brian Shackman. This is Fan Base, a deep dive into the greatest rivalry in sports. We talked about the Yankee pitching because obviously we've already discussed, Luis Gil and then Garrett Cole. And now all of a sudden what we thought was kind of a strength is a bit of an issue. And there's more? Is that what you're telling me?
Well, yeah, last podcast I talked about Clark Schmidt and that he was going to stay behind in extended spring training because of his back and just do an extra start, and that I was concerned that he would probably have to be thrown into the rotation given the fact with Garrett Cole and Luis Gil. But now Clark Schmidt is being skipped his next start with shoulder issues. Now the shoulder issues come from the barking back, regardless of how it happened. It's not good news, right? If you're dependable starter has now got some sort of issues, be it shoulder or back, and he's questionable for opening day, and you're already down 2 starters. So now Carlos Rodon has been named the opening day starter. Say what you want about that. I'm not going to read too much into that. Max Friese is supposedly the new ace in town or whatever. I'm not digging into that. I don't see any controversy. That could just be how they're lined up or how he wants to go forward, how the players would stack. But you're looking at Rodon, Fried, and look, Marcus Stroman's your number 3 now. All right. A guy that wanted out of town is your number 3.
So then who else is going to be in the rotation?
Well, you got Clark Schmidt, if he can make it. You got Will Warren, who's your rookie, who's had the best spring out of any pitcher, who will be your 5th or 4th starter now. And Carlos Cookie Carrasco is having a good spring with the Yankees, a non-roster invitee who will probably make the team now. 11 innings pitched, 6 hits, 4 runs, 6 walks, 12 Ks for him this spring. Not bad. Not bad at all. So he will probably be your 5th starter given what happens with Clark Schmidt and how games stack up early in the season. But if you would have told me that Carlos Rodon was going to be our opening day starter and Stroman was probably going to be our number 3, I would have told you you're crazy. But that's how it works.
The hard part, honestly, and I don't really care deep down because it's the Yankees, but the hard part with Cole is that he's not coming back. Like, you know what I mean? So there's and that's why I still think that the Yankees, the whole approach to the season has changed, and I feel like they need to be in contention at the trade deadline, right? I mean, they don't need to be they just need to be competitive enough to be playoff worthy, because the only time they're going to really be able to upgrade their pitching is at the deadline. So honestly, you got to make it to the deadline. You don't have to be in first, but you have to be in the wild card hunt and then make the move. And I guarantee you put a timestamp on it, that Cashman's going to make a big trade at the deadline for pitching.
Oh, absolutely. Cashman will do what he needs to do. But, like I said before, over and over again, a lot of question marks going in. There's a lot riding on a lot of what ifs for the Yankees right now. And it starts with Jason Dominguez.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think that both teams are wide open. The whole division is going to be really interesting to watch because a lot of these teams, so little about how they're going to be. It's going to wait until the games start that we know how they're going to be.
And nothing is ever as it seems. We know that. Baseball never plans out the way it's supposed to.
So the season starts on Tuesday in Japan, and the Dodgers, I don't know much, I heard Mookie got sick and lost 15 pounds.
Yeah, I was going to say, Mookie's losing 15 pounds. It might be much.
He was already skinny.
Yeah.
I know,
But
like,
yes, so this is the Tokyo series. Are opening on Tuesday the 18th, and it's you can't ask for a better marketing ploy. You're going to have Yamamoto against Imanaga, right? Shota Imanaga.
yeah.
Yeah, for the Cubs. So you got your marquee matchups, and Roki Sasaki should pitch. Of course, Shohei will be in the lineup. He will not pitch, but again, the MLB Dodgers marketing and PR train keeps rolling. It keeps
What
rolling,
time is it?
and it's funny. I looked up the Tokyo series, and guess who it's sponsored by, Brian? Guggenheim. Go figure.
Is it really?
Yeah,
Is it
yeah,
really? Oh, yes, that's
absolutely.
funny. And it's going to be fun for me because my radio show's on 5:30 to 9. The first pitch is at 6:10 a.m., which is going to be really cool to be able to watch baseball. But yeah, I mean, bets. I mean, the only thing I would say is, even if it was like bad food or a stomach thing, baseball is different than like football or I feel like baseball. I don't know if it's good or bad, but I feel like you could. It's hard to put that weight back on and gain your strength back. And what you do is, like football, it's easier to retain strength because you play once a week, right? And hockey, it's tough because you're playing every 3 nights or whatever. Baseball, you're playing every day.
Yeah.
And I think it could take some time to get him back. Forget about the baseball side of it, just strength and weight. He's not going to be able to just get in the weight room and just get it all back in 2 weeks, I don't think.
Well, it's interesting. You hear about this happening a lot in spring training, particularly. Players will get sick and they get these stomach things and they have issues and they lose weight. And it does take them a long time to come back because it's such a physically demanding sport and it's such a long season. And it's not easy to put weight back on. Some people it is, obviously, but I don't see Mookie Betts as the kind of person that just goes out there and, eats a Michael Phelps breakfast and packs on 12 pounds.
Yeah.
So it could be a very interesting scenario for him. Hopefully he's not bringing back COVID 2.0 with him. Let's hope that's not the case.
No, I don't think so. It would let him back in the country, but it is a good marketing start to the season. I mean, the Japanese players it just seems like there's a lot of high quality kids who are playing from Japan. It's smart. They love the game. I think it makes a ton of sense.
Yeah, I've been listening to some of the reporting from over there, and it's the Shohei show. I mean, he is everywhere. He is marketed beyond belief. The Dodgers, they struck gold. They know it. They're not stupid, and like I said, it keeps rolling.
Yeah, he's John Senecal and Brian Shackman. This is episode 187 of Fan Base, a deep dive into the greatest rivalry in sports. Listen, I've been very clear about this. I don't think MLB should be in Florida. I've said it many times, but it's not a new take. I think Tampa and the Miami Marlins should not be teams. But now the new stadium in Tampa is dead, and I guess they're going to slap a roof on the Trop. I guess that's the plan. But for me, it's like I don't understand why they fight so hard to keep this team here when there's a couple cities, Nashville included, that would make so much more sense.
It's interesting you say slap a roof on it because that's pretty much what they're going to do, right? The last roof, I'm looking at a picture of it here. It's not like the one in Miami. It's not a metal roof. It's not a retractable roof. It's basically like a garbage bag, right? Let's call it that. It's a big garbage bag that got ripped off. So they're not going to be able to do anything other than that, right? So who's to say that this can't happen again, right? So I'm very perplexed as to why they would want to spend whatever, $600 million or whatever it is to fix that roof, knowing that they want to move the team anyways or build a new stadium, which, listen, come on, get your head out of the stands, people. This is not going to happen. If this was going to happen, it would have happened before it got derailed by Hurricane Milton. All right. Obviously Milton threw a huge wrench in this, but this was a problem way before that. There was too much infighting, too much back and forth, too much. Listen, if you could build a stadium in New York City, 2 stadiums simultaneously, the Mets and the Yankees, and they've been going on for 5 years with this crap and they can't do it. It's a joke. It's a joke. Baseball in Florida is a joke.
It is. But I think your point is kind of the best point, is that you're sort of saying this: if you can't get a stadium built, you shouldn't have a team.
Right.
And I think that's that's a pretty simple. So I don't know what Manfred's going to do. I don't know what the ownership is pushing back on, but The
Well, it
bottom line
sounds like
is
they've been pushing. They've been pushing. Was it Steinberg, who owns the team, and he says he's not going to move. He's not going to sell the team. He doesn't want to move. He's focused on Tampa. But again, you got all these cities clamoring. You got like Portland just released new renderings for stadiums. You got Salt Lake City who wants a stadium. You got Nashville who's been banging on the door for years. But I feel like what Manfred wants to do is expand. Right? He wants to keep the number of teams and then boost it to 32. That's what he wants to do because that generates more money. Right? Because that's the smart thing to do. But you can't do that when your team's averaging 12,000 a game.
It's
you
dumb.
can't.
I don't know
You're not going to build a new stadium and all of a sudden 35,000 people are going to show up every night. It just doesn't. It's not going to happen.
But you can't force an owner to move or to sell unless he's a criminal. So that's a tough one to go. I think the most interesting nugget of the week, and of course, Matt Soroy's our producer, and the three of us are on a text thread. And when the Joey Gallo release and then Joey Gallo considering a move to pitching, he is. I don't even know if he's still owed money on a contract or not. I don't know what his status is, but I mean, if you make a decision this many years into your career that you want to stay in baseball, but you're going to try it as a pitcher, I mean, first of all, I cheer it on if he wants to try. But who's going to let him try?
Well, that's a good question. That he was in the White Sox camp. He was 2 for 20 with 11 Ks in White Sox camp, and he asked to be released. He knew he wasn't going to make the team, so he asked to be released. And then he made a post that showing his outfield highlights and then showing him throwing a bullpen. One shot of him throwing a bullpen, and then he posted. What did he write? Just to be clear, I will be pitching. He said it's been fun outfield. Peace. Just to be clear, I will be pitching. Now, people will say this is crazy, right? It's been done very few times where a position player turned into a pitcher. Now it's happened where pitchers have turned into position players, but it hasn't happened too often where actual position players turn into
the best
pitchers.
example is Tim Wakefield, but he did it in the minors, right? I mean, and he became a specialty pitcher. He wasn't throwing fastballs and curves; he was throwing knuckleballs. Right. But he was a failed prospect with the Pirates when he made that transition, but he was in their minor league system. I don't remember anyone in the majors ever doing it mid-career.
No. I mean, Rick Ankiel was a pitcher who went to a fielder. He went to an outfielder position. Right. But he basically turned that because he couldn't throw the ball over the plate, right? He couldn't throw the ball over the plate. But listen, get back to Joey Gallo. He was an outfielder, third baseman, right? When he got drafted by the Texas Rangers out of high school, big prestigious high school. His high school numbers are insane. They're absolutely insane. He went to Las Vegas, Bishop Gorman High School. He did pitch in high school. Now, his senior pitching year, he was 13.2 innings, 7 hits, 5 runs, 3 earned runs, 10 walks, 23 Ks. All right. Now that's high school, right? He's a big dude. He's 6'3", like 220. He can throw. He has a good arm in the outfield. So listen, if he can learn how to pitch, I would imagine that he can throw very hard. He could probably throw mid to upper 90s. But first of all, someone's got to give him a chance, right? I mean, if
he can throw 95, someone will give him a minor league deal. I bet.
Absolutely. So now he has to get in front of people. He has to showcase himself. He has to do whatever he can to get on a. I don't see him making a major league team anytime soon. I would see him maybe catching a minor league deal and working it out in the minors and trying to figure it out. And
it's a story I'd like. I gotta be honest. It's a story I'd like to follow. I would follow Joey Gallo's journey, whether it's a Netflix doc or some sort of video diary on TikTok. To me, that would be fun, and I think it would be actually some crap salad team. I don't know. Name any crap salad.
Miami
team.
Marlins,
Colorado, Miami, whatever, and just. Why not? I mean, just make it a little bit of a minor league media thing, and I think it might be worth whatever minimum they'd need to sign him. I actually, if I was a GM of a lower tier team, and he can throw, he's got to prove that he's got some velocity. Because if he's throwing 86, it's not worth it. But if he can jam it up there, even with no real coaching, it might be worth it.
Yeah, he's not super old. I think he's like 31 years old. So, he doesn't have a ton of age, and he hasn't played a lot. He played 11 games in the outfield in 2024. And he played 64 games in the outfield before that. The last time he played over 100 games was 2022. So, he doesn't have a lot of tax on that arm. Maybe Joey Gallo, they could do a Netflix series, and it could be something like I want to lead the league in strikeouts from both sides of the plate. Right?
That's a good one. That's good. Listen, we're going to say goodbye. We got to come up with some. We got to do our prediction show too. Obviously.
Yeah, so the real season starts I think on the 27th and 28th of March. So we got a little bit of time for that because we all know baseball. They could have this series in Japan and half the team could get wiped out. Who knows? And the way the Yankees are going, their pitching staff could be gone by next week. So
yeah, I got you. All right, listen, great stuff, John. As always, you've been listening to Fanbase, a deep dive into the greatest rivalry in sports.